Welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see you all here. It's a jam-packed room, but that's fine. We have a good time. It's a nice weekend today, and I'm so glad that you all took the time to come here. And I really hope that today I'm able to share some things with you that maybe you thought of before or you didn't think of before, and some new ways to look at public speaking and how we can all work together to improve our public speaking. So that being said, first, before I get started, let me introduce myself a little bit. My name is Tristen Huang, and I am the course developer and teacher for the TalkPower Youth Public Speaking and Communication course series. Now, so I teach this course, and I was one of the main developers of it, so I'm very familiar with how this course goes. And I'm also a student at the University of Toronto downtown. So throughout my whole life, I've been involved in various forms of public speaking. Since I was probably almost about this tall, I really liked to talk all the time. And as I got older, I joined so many different programs and extracurriculars and different experiences that involved public speaking. And when I designed the course, I really tried to channel all of those past experiences into the course. So every single activity I designed, every single lesson that I plan out, that I make, I try to put in my own experience to shape what will help my students the most, what is going to be the most useful to them, what will be the most enjoyable. Today I'll mainly be covering 4 aspects, and that is the importance of public speaking for kids, our approach to public speaking, so the TalkPower philosophy behind public speaking training, and our step-by-step approach, so by grade level. And last but not least, I'll be talking a little bit about the course series that we actually offer here. So first, the importance of public speaking for kids. We all know that public speaking is very important. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah? See some nods? But just how important is it? Is it just something that we use to get jobs, to advance our careers, to get us into better positions? Or is it something that's more throughout our whole lives and is used every day in all sorts of different situations? I think it's more so the latter. So the first aspect of 3 is the fact that public speaking is an expression of the inner self. Public speaking at its very core is just expressing what's going on inside, expressing those thoughts, your emotions, and your feelings, and you're getting all these ideas that you have out into the world. Because you can have the best ideas ever. You can have the best idea, but no one's ever going to hear it if you don't say it, which is why expressing yourself is so important. That's how society sees your value. The people in the outside world can't see what you're worth and all your skills and your accomplishments if you don't show it. So if you have such amazing thoughts that you need to share, you need to be able to, first of all, say it out loud. The second one is the great age range at which our courses target. When you're so young, you're at a very open-minded stage. You're ready to accept new ideas, and you yourself have a lot of ideas to share. So at this time, it's a great place for information and ideas and emotions to exchange. Because when you're growing up, maybe y'all remember, and a lot of you are experiencing that right now, right? You have a lot of ideas about the world, and you see a lot of things. You have a lot of questions. So you need to open this path of communication to allow yourself to diffuse sort of different ideas in and out, so you can have exchanges with the rest of the world, so you can build these connections. And last but not least, public speaking fosters really good character. So the nature of public speaking, it puts you in all sorts of different situations, right? You need to interact with your audience. You need to be able to handle your audience rejecting your opinions. You need to be able to handle people's different views to your same topic. So it puts you in all these situations that test you and your ability to be flexible and to adapt. And not only that, your character is also makes up things like how you deal with failure, how you accept your mistakes. As public speakers, we all deal with these situations, and it's not private. Everyone can see when you make a mistake. But how do we face that? How do we overcome these things? So public speaking is an excellent way for especially a young person to develop their character traits and their overall person. Now I'd like to talk about our TalkPower approach to public speaking, or our philosophy behind it. We like to use an analogy of the tree. So when you look at a tree, we only really see the top part. We don't really see the bottom part, right? There's a nice pretty part that creates photosynthesis and makes air for us to breathe. But would you say that that part is more important than the roots? Hands up if you think the top part is more important than the roots. I don't see any hands. I agree with that, right? You can't say that the roots are not important. The roots are what support the tree, what allows it to grow. Without the roots, there is no tree. There's no potential for growth. So we use this to describe a public speaker. A tree is a public speaker. And the part that is visible is the presentation. But there's a part below the presentation, underneath it. And we call that the supporting qualities, qualities that support the growth of the public speaker, that hold up the presentation. Let's break it down even further. The presentation includes two aspects. You have your content, the things that you say, your speech that you wrote, all the words that you use. But you also have the skills and techniques. So how are you going to deliver it? What sort of tactics are you going to employ to get your message out the best that it can be? The parts below, again, the supporting qualities. But what are exactly the supporting qualities that make a presenter great? We split that into three different categories. The first one is character. Character makes a public speaker wonderful. The first aspect of character, and we like to call this the 3 C's, is confidence. You need to be able to come up here confidently and deliver your material. So not only do you need to be confident in who you are, confident in yourself, you need to be confident in what you're saying, the material that you have prepared and that you're prepared to present, and you need to be confident in your stance, right? When you need to exude an aura of being confident and knowing that you belong here. What you say makes sense, and that's how you're going to persuade your audience. The next C is courage. You need to be brave. So not only do you need to be confident in who you are and your material, but you need to actually have courage to stand in front of a lot of people and talk. It's actually very scary. I don't know if you all had the opportunity to speak in front of a large crowd, but humans, naturally, we tend to be followers. It's very strange for us to stand in front of people and talk. So it's out of our natural comfort zone. As such, courage is an essential part of public speaking. The next one is calm. You need courage, you need confidence, but if you're so nervous up here and you're shaking, you can't get anything out. Yes, you can be confident, but you can be confident and nervous at the same time, right? But if you're calm, you're able to collect yourself. You're able to give a very eloquent speech. The next is health. So some of you might be wondering, what does health have to do with public speaking? Do we have any ideas in the room? Any of our younger audience members want to give it a try? No? Okay. Well, let's think about it. Health. What do you need as a public speaker up here? You need energy. You need charisma. You need enthusiasm. So you need your health to be in a good shape in order to have that energy so that you can persuade your audience. You can't persuade your audience if you yourself have no life. You need to have that vibrant energy up here in order to pull your audience along with you. But there's another thing with health in our bodies. So, how are our thoughts and our feelings created? Where do our thoughts and ideas come from? Anyone? Any guesses? Our thoughts and our feelings come... Oh yeah, we have a guess.
From like your brain.
From your brain, okay. But where's your brain getting that information? Sorry?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, I really like that. It does come from your brain, but it comes from somewhere else before the brain. So think of it this way. Do you just feel angry out of nowhere? Like you just wake up one day, you're like, oh, I'm so angry. Sometimes? Generally speaking, we don't do that. Why? Because we see something that makes us angry. Right? Oh, that guy's shirt's so ugly. Oh, now I'm mad. Right? We see things outside that make us angry. We hear things. Someone says something mean to us, makes us angry. Or makes us happy, right? Someone says something nice. So, things from the outside come into our brains, and that's where the thoughts are formed. So naturally, our bodies are sensors, right? We sense things. We can see, we can taste, we can hear, we can smell, and we can feel, right? So our bodies are sensory machines, essentially. And we pick up information from the outside, and that's how we form our thoughts. So if our health is damaged, if our bodies can't function properly, we're not receiving the correct information from outside. It's like we're wearing like green tinted glasses. Everything you see now becomes green. So health is very important. But now I've been talking about physical health. There's another aspect, mental health. Mental health is an increasingly important issue nowadays. And mental health is critical to you being able to be an eloquent public speaker. You need to be able to know how to deal with lots of pressure and change and stress in life. Being able to adapt and be flexible, which we go over a lot in our courses. We talk about things like, how do you deal with an immense failure, a horrible mistake? How do you deal with peers around you belittling you? How do you deal with people praising you all the time? Things to help us keep a balanced state of mind. Last one is literacy. Literacy has 3 aspects as well. The first is vocabulary. It's very simple. In order to speak, you need to know words, right? It doesn't make sense if you're up here and you're just making sounds that no one understands. In order to have words, obviously you need to be able to read, you need to have read a lot in order to pick up more words that you can use. Second one is logical flow. If you do not have logical flow when you speak, it's very difficult for your audience to follow along with what you're saying. And if it's very difficult for them to follow along, your message never gets across. You're never able to convince your audience of anything. So logical flow is something that develops with age, but also with some practice as well. So we work in our courses to develop some sense of logic in the speeches in our students. Last one is writing. Writing is the basis of all good public speaking. Before you make a speech, you need to be able to get it down on paper. I have many students in my class who don't like to write. They can speak, right? They can come up and they're not afraid to say it. But the problem is that because they don't like writing it down, their speeches sometimes lack the depth that it can have if they had planned it out a bit more. It lacks some of the structure and organization it would otherwise have. So writing is like the foundation of a good speech. If any formal speech you see in public that any important person gives, it's always planned, it's always written. So before it comes out, it needs to be down on paper. To sum up, we have in the presentation area the content and the skills and techniques which make up the visible aspect of public speaking. But underneath the supporting qualities, we have the character, the health, and the literacy. And that's what makes a public speaker. And at TalkPower, yes, our courses, the courses I've helped design, it focuses on teaching them the content and getting the skills and techniques across so they know how to deliver a good speech. But at TalkPower, we have a greater emphasis, a greater focus on teaching and guiding them through these other supporting qualities. How do you build your character? How do you face mistakes? How do you deal with different situations in life? Because when you have those, then you can grow upwards and become that public speaker you want to be. But if you don't have those underlying qualities, there's nothing to support your growth there. So the tree, we all want to be that well-balanced tree. We can't just have the top, we can't just have the bottom. So at TalkPower, we aim to do both. So this is something new, and it's our step-by-step approach and what we're going to be implementing into our courses next year. And what we did here was to really break down what our students sort of need the most at each grade level. And again, before I go into it, I'd like to stress that what you're about to see is our divided up version of our focuses in different grade levels. However, just because it's the focus doesn't mean that that will be the only thing we're teaching in that level. There will be lots of other things that are taught, but we're only showing you the most important areas that they need guidance. So first we have grades 1 to 2. When they're so young, really we expect them to be able to describe basic things. Just being able to describe something in very simple language and to get that thought out, and also not fear communicating with other people. So yes, as children, you don't have a lot to say sometimes. However, you are not afraid to share your thoughts with someone else. When they're in grades 3 to 4, the expectation grows a little bit. At that point, I think it's important that they're able to express their ideas clearly, so not just be able to say something, but now I can describe it a bit more. And now they're able to be more confident, be open, not fear making mistakes. So be able to go out and try new things without scared of failing. In grades 4 to 5, now we're moving into describing events with a bit more detail. So we're going into more descriptive language, we're digging deeper into events. So not just saying the basic of what happened, but make sure we cover different aspects of it. We're also going to be talking more about how to present comfortably in front of an audience at this point. Not only are you not afraid to communicate with others, but now let's say you're in front of a small crowd. How do you feel comfortable in that situation? Because most people aren't, right? A lot of people fear public speaking. We'll also cover things like developing a healthier attitude towards understanding mistakes. So now, not only are you not afraid to make mistakes, but you know how to treat them. How do I build on my mistakes and my failures? In grades 5 to 6, now we're going to start organizing our speech into written form. So before that, we find that for young kids, it's not very useful for them to start learning how to get my ideas down on paper, because at that point it's very difficult for them. But in grades 5 to 6, now we can start slowly to figure out how to get our ideas on paper before we present them, to have a bit better organization, to be able to plan. As well, we always have a lot of aspects of teamwork in our courses. Lots of activities require group work and partnered work, things like that. So they know how to work within a team. We'll also be working on just developing a more expressive personality and being able to share their thoughts openly with people and understanding the relationship between effort and success. Because effort doesn't always yield success. And that's something that's important for them, especially growing up, to understand. Because sometimes they're going to try very hard in school, and it's not going to turn out well. How do we understand that situation? How do we overcome that situation? Now grades 6 to 7. Now that we've started to write, now let's build more structure and make our ideas more clear within our speech. Increase the depth of our thoughts as well. So now they're not just scraping the surface of events, but they're really analyzing their own thoughts. We also are going to talk about strengths and weaknesses, understanding your own strengths and weaknesses, where you can stand out, learning to accept them and love them because they're a part of you. So to continue on, grade 6 to 7 right there. The next one, grade 7 to 8. All right, now we have more organized speeches. But how do we make them more captivating? How do we make them more interesting to our audience? We'll also be going over things like the different purposes of speech. Because not all speeches have the same purpose. Some are to inform, as this one is. Some are to entertain. Some are to persuade. So when you understand the different purposes of your speech, then you can tailor the way you write it, and you plan it, and you give it to make it more effective and more captivating. Now we're going to also discuss other people's weaknesses and accepting others' weaknesses, because no one's perfect. Yes, before we were focusing more on understanding ourselves and loving ourselves and accepting ourselves, but there's also other people in this world that you need to work with to get through life. So now how do we deal with these other people? Moving more into interpersonal skills. In grades 8 to 9, now we're working more on stronger logical flow. As I mentioned before, logical flow is something that is crucial to public speaking, but develops a lot with age. So for example, for myself, I remember doing debate, And when I was younger in elementary school, I would always get so frustrated because I would make these arguments and then we would do the practice round of debate in class. And then my teacher would give me suggestions on, oh, why didn't you make this argument? Why didn't you argue it this way? And I think like, oh man, that was so good. Why can't I think of that? Right? And then as I got into high school, with age and more experience, I was able to come up with those sorts of arguments. So it's something that happens, but we can help guide and make that process happen a bit faster or a bit smoother and have them work together as a team and grow together along the way. We're also going to discuss things like interview skills. So useful speech skills and interview skills. Now when they're in grades 8 to 9, hitting high school, that's a very important time to start introducing some fundamentals of interviews, because as they're getting into high school, so applying to high school, and also things like applying to clubs within high school, it's very important to have those interview skills. In fact, we just had a class on it this morning in one of my classes. Next thing in 8 to 9 is approaching setbacks and frustration with a healthy attitude. So as you get older, the more older you get, the more challenges life throws at you. That's natural. But how do you deal with setbacks and frustration? And as high school presents a big change, obviously there's a lot of area for adjustment and setbacks, and they need to be able to face that with a very healthy mindset. In grades 9 to 12, so general high school range. Now we're delving deeper into ideas and considering different perspectives to approach things. So when you have an argument that you want to make, sometimes I'll make you argue it from the other way. Maybe you agree with this statement, so argue that you disagree with it. So challenging them to approach problems from different perspectives so that they broaden their scope of thinking. We're also going to talk more about engaging with the audience using communication skills. So we often, in public speaking, have things like Q&A, question and answer sessions, and communicating with audience before the speech, after the speech, and during all sorts of different interactions. And we'll get more into that as well. And we're going to just talk more about society and how we can take part in society and what skills we need to have in order to do well, and just more gearing them towards university and post-secondary education and the different pathways they want to take, and understanding what they sort of need to plan and do to get there. And after grade 12, now you're going into post-secondary education, and now you need to present not only in a captivating manner, but you need to present in an interesting but professional manner with maturity. So you need to seem more mature in your presentations. And not even in the workplace, but in university as well, you're required to make quite a few presentations, and now they have to be very formal. We're also, now that they're getting into adulthood, really, independence is a very important thing. So independent thought, right? Building their personality to have that responsibility, knowing to take responsibility for their own emotions, right? No one makes you angry. Someone does something and you feel angry. So there's a bit of a difference there, and we discuss that a lot in our courses. So to sum up, this would be our step-by-step approach for grades 1 through 7. And the next slide, we had grade 6 all the way to pretty much your university. So now I'll introduce a little bit about our course series that we offer right here. So we have youth courses, and next year we're actually going to be offering courses that are grades 3 to 4. So a class for grades 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and as well we have 6 to 7, 7 to 8, and 9 to 11. So these are the courses that are going to be active next year. So there's one general course for high school, but we find that even though it's 9 to 11, they actually work really well together. So in our courses, we have so many different opportunities for people to speak, to work together as a team. So all the different activities I designed, there's constant competitions and challenges and ways for them to have fun. And sometimes they don't even want to stop, and I have to stop them from the activity, or else they just keep playing rounds of it. There's also lots of fun, I like to think, lots of laughs that get shared throughout the room. And obviously there are different lessons And I give them different opportunities to work together, not only in partners, in large groups, switch it around, so that they can get to know each other and make a lot of friends in this class. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so special. We received some feedback from some of our students. For example, Jeffrey from grade 7 says, in this class I learned how to be more open to the audience and learning how to calm myself down when I'm about to present. A lot of times I feel very stressed, but now I can look at the audience straight in the eye and express my emotions freely in a clear way that can be understood. I recommend this class for anyone who is struggling to keep a professional face on them when they present, and basically anyone in general. I like the teacher. She's been nice and very positive when she gives feedback, and also has some very creative activities. They make you think and concentrate and teach skills that can be applied to everyday life when talking. So Jeffrey's been here ever since September, and I've seen him really blossom, because when he came in he was a bit shy. He didn't like to talk that much. But later, now he's one of our best speakers in the class, I think, because he's able to share his ideas very openly, and he really tries to apply the lesson. So every time he gets a little bit better, and it's very nice to see. We received some feedback from parents as well. Some parents have talked about the changes that they've seen in their children, since September. Some people have said that, oh, now he's not afraid to go talk to people. I noticed that at school, his teacher is saying that now he'll openly go up to the teacher and say stuff and share his thoughts with the teacher. Or someone else has even said that their writing skills got a bit better just because I encouraged them to describe more things. Even in public speaking, I bug them all the time. More detail, more detail. You can't just say this happened. What exactly happened? Right? What was the details? When did it happen? Who did it happen to? Where? So now that they're used to constantly expressing these little details, it carries over to school. So we have another piece of feedback from Ray, who's in grade 6, who's actually here this morning. He said, before I came to this class, I thought it was going to be a boring old public speaking class like the ones I've been at before. When I came, the teacher blew me away with combining life skills, public speaking, and fun activities in just 2 hours. I took a lot from this class, not just public speaking, but also things that are applicable in other areas. I learned about setting goals, and speech structure, failure and success. And my friend asked me if he could take this class. I definitely say come. Yeah, so oftentimes class goes by and people are like, what? It's been 2 hours? So I like to think that we have a lot of fun during class. Now this year we're also offering a summer camp. So these will be for ages 10 to 17, so over grade 5. Obviously they'll be split into sort of different segments. They won't be together. And it will be not only a public speaking class, but a creative writing class as well. So it's sort of a combination of the two, and maybe we'll be talking more about that later. So I just mentioned that the public speaking aspect of our courses that TalkPower offers.